Right. Good evening, everyone. We're just starting our session titled Live Q&A, Skilled Migrants and Parents Residents with Arran Hunt. So I'm really excited and glad that Arran accepted our invite to speak to our audience today and take some questions regarding some of these changes Immigration New Zealand has announced recently. So Arran is an experienced lawyer and a partner at Stace Hammond, and he specializes in immigration as well. We'll probably start with quick introduction, which I would let Arran do himself, and then we will start the question answer. Before the question answer, we'll probably have a quick brief from him on the updates on these two visa categories, and we'll start taking questions. If we don't have any question, then we'll probably start with some very obvious ones which he has been or I've been receiving from some of the participants. So over to you, Arran, for a quick introduction, just for the purposes of the audience.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Excellent. Good afternoon, kia ora, everybody. My name is Arran Hunt. I am a partner here at Stace Hammond, where I head the immigration team. You may have seen me, my YouTube videos I put out there once in a while. Of course, we have, 45 hours away from the next skilled migrant draw, the first skilled migrant draw in 32 months. So over 2.5 years ago, lockdown took place, draws stopped, and now they're coming back, not as frequently, once a month rather than every couple of weeks. But definitely the last 160 point draw for so many of you. This will be that golden chance. You missed out on RV21. This could be that last sort of chance to grasp residency before it goes to 180 points. And before we go into next year's sort of reshuffle, the change in the system, how it's going to work. So definitely, hopefully lots of you can get in there and get that 160 point requirement to get that chance. Quickly, so you understand the process of skilled migrant, it has been 2.5 years. This is the expression of interest, the EOI. This is where you put in some basic information. If you meet 160 points, in the next, they'll do a draw. All those names will come out of the bucket, they'll be put into a random list. They will then send to you the ITA, the invitation to apply, and that's the application itself. You get you get an online system to apply through, and that's when you provide all the documentation, all the evidence. That's the actual application point. This first part's the pre-application. That's when you go into a queue to actually get it processed. So there is sort of a few stages to this. So if I say EOI, this is that thing due for Wednesday. If I say ITA, that's what comes next. That's the invitation to apply for the application itself. So that's sort of how the process works. As to how long it's going to take, no one knows. It was a very slow process previously, but that was because there was a limit on how many they could grant per year. That is changing. There is no limit anymore, so we don't know how long it will take. It comes down to how many staff immigration apply to this visa to work on it. So yeah, I can't say how long it's going to take to do. But yeah, any questions you've got about the SMC or about the parent residence category, I'm happy to answer them as best I can. Got an hour or so to get through as much as possible. So ask away, otherwise I'll just sit here and just sort of talk about general things. Question here from Mohammed about the salary cap for resident visas. So resident visas coming back next year. There is those who are already in the pool are already in the pool. They get a nice early draw. Actually, in this month or in 2 weeks' time, they get a draw for those already in the pool. Those not in the pool, the draws start August 2023. There is a salary minimum for those. If you are bringing in one parent, it is $86,611. If there's one of you, if there's two of you sponsoring it, then it's $115,000 per year is the requirement, and that you have to have had that in the last 2 or 3 years. So for those of you who are getting granted residence now under RV21, you can't sponsor your parent until you've had 3 years as a resident. So you're not quite at the point yet when they can apply for that resident visa. So unfortunately, for those at RV21, it's a few years still to go before you can get to that point. Rena Rose, can I submit an EOI without the NZQA? Yes, you can. Get the NZQA applicate, the assessment started, and go on the assumption that they're going to come back with the result that you expect. Immigration have confirmed that. NZQA takes some time to get these things done, and they don't want you to have to wait for that to take place. So yeah, get the NZQA in there. Yeah. And you can apply without it, assuming that you're going to have it.
Thank you, Arran. I think more questions will start to flow. People are starting to join. Feel free to post your question. Otherwise, we'll just carry on with of the conversation. In the meantime, we're waiting for more question, Arran. Oh, there's one more follow-up
Waiting
from
time.
Muhammad.
Yeah, residence visa for parents. It's been, what, let me see, 6 years since we last had that processed. So we don't know. How they're doing it is that there's about 9,000 currently in queue. They're going to be doing 2,000 per year from that 9,000. Now, out of that 9,000, there will be a number who won't be eligible. They won't be making enough money, or the parents may have changed their mind. So that number will come down, but it's still looking at probably, if you're in that queue, you're still looking at probably 2 or 3 years to get through it if you are near the end of the queue. If you applied in the past sort of 2 years, you'll be near the end. If you applied in 2015, you'll be near the beginning. For those who haven't applied yet, the application is open in May, so you can't apply yet. The draws start in August, and they're doing 500 a year from that queue until the other queue runs out, then 2,500 per year. So you're looking at probably not so much for the waiting time to get drawn is probably going to be around 2 to 3 years. On average, depending on how many applications there are. Once it's been drawn, it should be a relatively fast process, perhaps 4 to 6 months. That is sort of guessing to some degree, but the actual waiting time to get drawn is going to be several years for most. Unless, you applied in 2015, 2016, then you should be early on in the process if you meet the criteria for the income and being onshore enough to sponsor.
One more question.
If you're granted a job search visa part of the SSC application, how long is a JSV? Oh, let me just check that. It's been a while since I've dealt with a JSV, actually. Let's have a look. Job search visa. Remember, they were 9 months.
Yeah.
Just double check. Pretty sure it was 9 months, the job search visa. In the current market, you'd want to be having a visa. See, SM10 is not showing up. I have to check. It was 9 months previously, was the job search visa that you got. You got 9 months to find employment. Medical requirements for parent residence visa. Mohammed, yes, just the general one, same as everybody else. They're not looking for perfect medical history because at that age, you're not going to have it. They're looking for things that are going to cost, either there's a list of things which you can't have. In the operational manual, they are things like you require dialysis, things like that is bringing up the list now. A460. You can't require dialysis. You can't have severe hemophilia, a physical, intellectual, cognitive, or sensory incapacity that requires full-time care. So if you have got a physical disability, say you're in a wheelchair, that's okay because you don't require full-time care. You can't have tuberculosis, but you can have had it previously and you've gone past that, or a history of MDR-TB, which I think is another kind of tuberculosis. So those are the ones which basically rule you out completely. You cannot get residence. Otherwise, they'll look at it and go, okay, what's it going to cost the country? It's going to cost us more than $81,000 in the next 5 years. You're banned. If not, we'll probably let you in. So if there's things which are very common general things like high blood pressure is a little bit high or cholesterol is a little bit high, things which aren't going to cost the country a lot of money, they should be okay. Anemia, low iron's okay, things like that are okay. It's ones where there's going to be a cost to the country. So that's how they sort of do that determination. So yes, medical requirements are there, but they're not requiring perfection or perfect health. Even at a younger age, people have health issues. At an older age, definitely have health issues, but minor things are okay to sort out. Any IELTS English requirements from the parents' side? Let me just check that again. Sorry, this is all recent changes, a lot of this. So family categories, parent categories, English language requirements for parent category. They have to have, I think it was IELTS 4.5, was it 5? Or you pay for
the tuition fee.
the tuition fees in advance. Just trying to find the actual number here. Sorry, search IELTS 4.0. So IELTS 4.0 or PTE at 29. These, or it was 36. So either you do that test and you get IELTS, or you pay for English tuition in advance, same as you'd have with the partner on SMC, where they pay in advance.
So, Arran, is there a number, the dollar value for that tuition fee, which has been prescribed?
1735 per applicant.
1735. Okay, thank you. We got a couple more questions. I can display the next one.
Hey, Srima, if I get a job offer, will I be granted residence visa immediately, or is it uncertain? If you're on a job search visa, it will require that job to be a skilled role. So it can't be any job. It has to be a job that is considered skilled. And it's not immediate. You have to then apply, get it assessed, go through those steps still as well.
Thank you. So we can probably move to the next one. And arose again.
Okay, the selection would be November 9th. Doesn't mean you're going to get notified on that day. No. So previously, when we've had draws before the lockdown, it would be up to a month for immigration to actually process all of those things in the draw. So it used to be 2 weeks. It got up to a month in the end as they sort of got built up. So we're probably looking with the number that's going to be in there, massive number of things in the draw on Wednesday. We're looking at about perhaps 2 months to actually get the ITAs out to applicants. So it won't be immediate. Basically, once the draw takes place, so it's happening at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. So you have to be in before 3. 3 is the deadline. We're saying to people to get in there before 3, well before, just in case. But 3 o'clock's the deadline. At that point, it closes and the draw takes place. At that point, they'll have a list of all the applicants who said they have 160. They'll have officers will then go through one by one and check them all and make sure that you have all the requirements, that your job is on the skilled list, that your point add up actually makes sense, that sort of thing. That's the point where they look at that and they'll go, okay, yes, this is, from the face of it, this looks legit, it looks correct. We'll issue an ITA and that then goes out. But we're saying probably 2 months based on historical figures, or how it will take to get the ITAs out to applicants.
Thank you. I think the next question has already been answered about fee, which
so
I
the
think
fee, is this, I'm guessing you're meaning for SMC or for parents?
I think it's for the tuition. I think it's for the tuition fee for the parents.
Oh, tuition. So 1735. Yeah, per applicant.
Right. Okay. And yeah, we have a couple of acknowledgements. Thank you. So just a follow-up question on one of your videos, Arran. I think you've been doing some great videos on YouTube channel. I would encourage people to go and have a look at your YouTube videos. You have been providing some of those small bites and some useful information out there. I think you did mention that more information is likely to come about parents' visa in a week's time. Is there any time frame on that for that information to become available?
We're just waiting for sort of a few clarifications. The big one we're waiting for currently is those who had applications in place some point ago, and so should be able to get into the queue again, but have already submitted again. And we're sort of getting clarity then, because the ruling is if you had an application in place prior to it was October 29th, October
12th of.
So 12th right. Yeah, so 12th of October. But there was a period in between where there was that dead zone. If you had an application prior to that withdrawn and then you submitted again prior to the announcement, whether you're able to get back into the queue at the same place, that's the question we're still having answered. They haven't answered that question yet as to how they're going to handle that. It's a very manual process as to how they're doing it. So we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, we'll probably get a few more details. We've got most of the rules through so far. But we're waiting for a few ideas as to how they're going to handle the process itself. Also, the final number of those who are in the pool. It was 9,000 as of the day of the announcement, but of course that was going back to 2015. So a lot of those will have dropped out, no longer eligible, moved somewhere else, that sort of thing. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah. One more question.
Is skilled migrant get resident visa? Okay, so a skilled migrant, if you are applying with a job already and you have enough points from having the job and you meet all the criteria and it's processed correctly, you get a residence visa. So this is what you're after. You're after the right to reside in New Zealand indefinitely. If you are applying for skilled migrant but without a job, but you get enough points, 160 points, which is hard to do without a job, I must say, then you get a job search visa with a chance to find a job which gets you residence. So, but to get a job search visa, 160 points, you're looking at having to have probably a master's or a PhD, 10 years of experience, and be relatively young. So it's hard to get those points up there because you're not getting the 50 points for your employment. There's no 30 bonus points for being employed outside of Auckland. So these are points which you're probably relying on, which you're not going to get. So 160 without a job is difficult for most people.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. I had one question asked from one of the contacts. In terms of the time frame of this 160 point and then 180 point and this new 6-point system, can you elaborate on the time frames? Which applicants will be considered for what type of system?
So the 160 points is just on Wednesday. This is the final 160 point draw. They've changed the rules already, and it's already stating that as of after that draw, 180 points is that they're required to come out of the pool. So that will be the rule as of after Wednesday. You have one shot at this, that's all. Going to the new system of the 6-point system, that will come through at some point next year. Now, we've learned after immigration with the delays with AWV and other things that their plan for middle of next year might not take place, especially with an election happening that year. The current plan is sort of middle of the year, but right now it's up in the air. It is still being discussed. They're doing some market research, talking to some individuals, don't know who, but that's what they're saying. So it will be tweaked, it will be changed. It's not set in concrete yet. So it could still be some time away. So I'd say plan on 180 points for at least the next 8 months, possibly longer.
Right. Okay. We have this question. Maybe it's a different to our subject, but do you want to take that one?
What is the critical shortage skill category? I'm not quite sure what they mean by that.
I think it's probably green list, I believe, what he's probably referring to.
Okay, so if it's on the green list, so for those of you who don't know, as of next month, they're going to be removing partnership work visas or the right to apply for a partnership work visa for partners of work visa holders unless they're on the green list. So I am on a work visa. I'm in a job that's on the green list. My partner can apply in next month for a partnership work visa. If I'm on a work visa and I'm not on the green list, or I'm not earning twice the median salary, my partner can apply for a visitor visa from next month. So that's be the requirement from next month, which is a shocking change. It's a horrible change, but that's the way that they're going. Especially in the current crisis, it's a dumb move, but that's the choice they've made. So the issue, so if you are on if you're a partner on a partnership visa and it's running out in the next sort of year or so, look at applying now before they make the change next month. As long as you've applied before they make the change, you can get that grant of the work visa going forward if you're eligible. After they make the change, you won't. And knowing immigration and the minister, they could make the change and make it straight away. So it won't be from tomorrow, from next week. It could be as of this morning. This is the change. So if need be, get in there and make the application now if you haven't got a long time left on your visas.
Right. So they will still be eligible if they make the application now before the change.
Yeah. The rules that are in place when you make the application are the ones that count. That's the ones that they will apply. Yeah.
Cool. I'll take this one.
So they get an offer. Well, they need to apply for a visa for me. So no, they won't. You can work on the JSV, and then they start processing the resident visa. Now, if your JSV is going to run out before your residence visa is granted, you need to apply for a work visa to maintain your status. With SMC, there is no interim visa like you have with RV21, so you have to make sure that you always maintain a temporary entry visa, like a work visa. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, if you've got lots of time left, if you're on JSV, you get a job straight away. That 9 month will hopefully be enough to get you through. If not, apply for a work visa.
Right. I think the next question is generic, but I think it's for a lot of people who are considering New Zealand right now and have no clue right now. So maybe a bit of an overview. What are the pathways potentially?
We do get asked this a lot, and it's one that of course, we're lawyers, so we're here to help with immigration queries. What I generally do is I say, look, first thing, look at Seek, look at TradeMe. They are the biggest platforms when it comes to jobs being advertised. If you are in a specialist industry, look at recruiters. If you're in IT, go to an IT recruiter, go to various other areas, talk to the recruiters in that area and say, hey, here's a situation. I need to find some work. What's available? You'll find some industries won't hire those who are offshore because there is that fear or the delay and that sort of issue. It's not as bad as it used to be, and a lot of employers don't realize that it's a lot easier now to get someone across the border, now the border's open, to come to New Zealand to work, but there's still that fear of doing it. For others, it's not an issue. So it depends on the industry you're in, but definitely, look at TradeMe, Seek, look at recruiters if you're a professional, or even just go to the big employers. If you're in the building trade, you're a builder. Go to Fletcher's, go to the big companies and say, hey, do you have a recruitment company or recruitment department, and talk to them. They may say, hey, great, yep, this is the process, off you go. So no harm in asking those questions of the companies themselves.
Right. Okay, while we wait for more question, I'll probably just dwell on this parent resident visa category. So those who applied for the EOI 2015, things may have changed for them, and maybe some of the parents have passed away, or they may want to change their parents, or assign that EOI to someone else. Can that be allocated to your another parent, or can it also be passed to your parent-in-law?
I haven't asked that question, but knowing immigration, I'd say probably not. The application itself belongs to the applicant rather than the sponsor. So right. It would need to be a whole change. I have once in my history managed to convince immigration to switch partners on an SMC. That was once in my entire career they've done that. It's generally the applicant is the applicant, and that's what it is. So if the parent has sadly passed away or doesn't want to come anymore, the other parent or the in-laws have to make a new application to come to the country.
And those who missed out because the sponsorship rules change and now they are slightly less tight, and they become eligible to apply for their in-laws visas, which means they now have to go in a draw. They can't really go back into the queue.
No, they have to go into the draw. The pool opens in May next year, so you can't apply until May for the new ones. If you're applying now, but you weren't already eligible in the pool previously, then you're sort of wasting your time to some degree. How they're going to do it is that from May, when they open the pool, they won't draw till August. So you have until August to do it. They're encouraging people not to do it in May, but to do it sort of in July. The reason being is that your EOI will only last 2 years. So if you apply in May and the draw starts in August, you're really only giving yourself sort of 18, 19 months of draw time rather than applying in July and getting yourself 23 months of draw time. So it's better to make the application closer to the draws starting to get the maximum time or the maximum value from your EOI cost. But yeah, if you haven't applied previously, then there's no point applying now until you actually get into next year, closer to August.
Right. Okay, we have a couple more questions. That's good. I think it's a follow-up from the previous question.
Got an offer letter while staying offshore, then you can come directly on visit visa along with your family, and then you convert the visa. Ooh.
I think this is related to the partner, not visit visa for the worker itself.
Yeah,
that is how I read it.
Because if I had a client who had an offer of job and then came to New Zealand on a visitor visa, whether they got it by applying for it or they got it through the border waiver scheme. When you enter the country on a visitor visa or you apply for it, you're basically saying to immigration, I'm coming here for a temporary entry reason. I'm coming here for holiday, to visit friends, family, and then I'll leave. Now, if you then apply for a work visa, knowing you're going to do that when you enter the country, you are generally lying on your immigration documents. And that form that you fill out when you go off your plane, you hand it to the customs officer, they hold on to that and they get scanned into the system. They have a record of that. So if you've ticked boxes saying I'm visiting family and then you're actually coming to work, and if they find an employment agreement in your bag at customs, they could turn you around and send you out of the country. So don't come into the country saying you're a visitor when you're planning on working and you've got a job lined up, because if they see that, they can kick you out because you have lied to customs, you lied to immigration. So be very, very cautious with that. A visitor visa is for that reason, to visit only. It's a short-term thing, the general visitor visa. Now, if you're coming in here on a partnership visitor visa, that's different. You're coming here to be with your partner, that's different. But general visitor visa, don't do that. It is very risky.
Yeah, and if I sort of read between the lines of this question, the worker has the work visa and the partner comes on a visit visa, but they are eligible for a work visa. That visa can be converted into work visa after their arrival.
Okay. Yeah. So if they have got a partnership visitor visa, so a right to come to New Zealand and live here with their partner, then yes, they can do that. That is perfectly fine because they're coming to New Zealand to be with their partner, which they still are. They haven't lied about that. They're coming to New Zealand for that purpose. The job is a added bonus. So yes, but make the application before December, before they make the changes to the rules.
Okay, he's clarifying his comment. So I'll let you answer that.
So if a company is offering to give you basically it's going to be an accredited employee work visa, don't come in here on a visitor visa, knowing that you're going to get the work, because immigration might notice that and say, hey, why did you come to the country 2 weeks ago on a visitor visa and then apply for a work visa straight away? They're going to question that, whether you lied to them on the visitor visa. If you have an offer for a sponsorship, then please apply for an AWV. That's the correct process to take.
So I'll take flying. Yeah.
Assigned to QC last week. So Sanjay, your SNC applied to QC last night. QC means quality control. Basically, once they've done the processing of the application, they've looked at it, they've made a decision whether it's yes or no. It goes to QC, quality control, also called second person check, 2PC. That's basically another officer, usually slightly more senior, a TA or a senior officer, who then reviews the application, reviews the decision to make sure it's correct. It's not unusual to go back and forth a few times. So if yours does go back to the officer to be something being changed, it's not a bad thing. It could basically be a small error somewhere by the officer. It happens a lot. But that's when a yes can become a no or a no can become a yes. We've seen it go both ways. Most of the time, the senior officer will back up their junior officer's decision, but at times it will be changed. It can take time. It can take 4, 6, 8 weeks if they're busy. If there's a lot of back and forth between them, it can take 2 or 3 months if there is things to fix. So it's not a fast process, QC, especially for residence applications. You can't see the status. It's basically call immigration and you ask them and they can tell you that it's at QC and that's probably about it. If I call up, I'll often get a little bit more information, whether, how long was it there for, where's it gone back and forward. They won't tell us what the issue was. That will stay internal, but it can take time to go back and forward a few times. And then the first thing you'll hear back will be either the yes, a no, or they may ask for more information. You may get a letter saying, hey, something we missed here, we want this, we want that. So yeah, it does take time.
Sorry, I think I pushed the wrong question. Oh, there was one more. There's one from Srima. Yep, that one.
I believe it's multiple entry. So I can't see why it'd be single entry, but I have to go and check. But from memory, it's been a number of years since we dealt with them. It was multiple entry.
Yeah, from my memory, I think it has been multiple entry for all the people I have known. Okay, so
excellent. So yes, cool. So yeah, go for the AWV. Use that definitely. They're relatively quick. I wasn't a fan of the new process being sort of 3 parts rather than 1, but they are being done relatively quickly. Now they've sort of ironed out the issues. So yeah, that's good to hear.
that's great. While we wait for more questions, I will then throw another one around green list. So now we have 3 different options. You can go to the accredited employee work visa. You can apply for a green list based residency pathway, I believe, and then you can go through SMC now. So a couple of my staff were a little bit confused about this NCQA, process completed, and then now they're waiting for the Engineering New Zealand letter. So can they still go and apply for a green list based residence while they're waiting for the letter, or everything has to be ready before they actually apply?
Get it ready before they apply. The requirement in the green list is very strict. There is no leeway there. So before they apply, they have to make sure that they meet the requirements.
Right.
So yeah, get the NZQA assessment in place, or whatever the requirements are. Make sure that they can meet that when they make the application. Immigration could decline them based on not having that ready at the time they submit it. So
Right.
best they did that. Otherwise, they'll be wasting thousands of dollars and applying again. So yeah. It's one of those ones where immigration don't give much leeway. They require it to be definitely on there and exact.
Yeah, and if you are entitled for a green list, you still recommend that people go through the green list process rather than through an SMC process.
Oh, definitely. If they're on the green list and they're on the tier 1, so the straight to residence, definitely go through that. It is really a much faster process than the skilled migrant. Skilled migrant is a much slower process than straight to residence. Yeah. Same with those who are already on the RV21. I've had a lot of questions saying, do I go EOI as well? Unless you see a fault with your RV21 that you think you may not get it, the RV21 should be processed faster than the SMC. SMC has to go through the same process as RV21 when it comes to getting the police certificates. And that's the biggest delay right now, is the police processing all these certificates at the same time. So going for SMC won't make that any faster. It's, for most people, is there's the delay for the police certificate to come through from the New Zealand Police. Even for those of you who are sitting at the original application, preparing application stage on RV21, it's most likely still be faster to wait for that than go SMC. SMC is not fast. Never has been.
Right. Okay, so we haven't got any question. I can scroll through the group, but I think I'll let you probably add some information if you have some advice while we're waiting for more questions to come. I'm sure more people are joining.
Yeah. Advice. The one thing for those of you, of course, you're probably
In terms of question, because what the type of question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just saying that there are a lot of questions I see on the group we are all part of, this Skilled Migrant New Zealand group. Most of the questions are related to the application process and preparing the application in EOI. So anything you would like to add to in terms of making that easier and more smoother?
It's what we do for our clients. So I don't want to give you too many things on how to do it. It is the biggest parts for us. The things we spend the most time on, I think, is of course making sure it's all correct. Don't try and aim for the stars and try to add on every point you can. If you're things like work experience, anything you claim point-wise, you must prove with the ITA. So if you claim 220 points or 200 points, you have to prove those points. Now, some things like your age, easy to prove, passport, qualification, certificate, easy to prove. Your current job, easy to prove, here it is, here's the location. So those are easy things to prove. Now, if you add on like 10 years of experience, you have to provide documents to prove that. If you don't need that experience, you're adding more workload to yourself. So definitely weigh that up, whether you want to actually claim every single point you can or just enough. Now, I will often list my clients' work experience in the application EOI. I just won't claim points for it, because if I know they don't require those points, there's not much point to claim those points, because it just adds to the workload for the officer who has to handle it and also to my client to provide documentation to prove it all. And then you have, further questions for points that don't even need in the first place. So definitely look at claiming the points you need, but don't go crazy and try to claim everything as you may not require it. Definitely weigh up that sort of workload risk. Other one is the big thing, of course, with skilled migrant is that match to to ANSCO, to a job role. So if you're going for skilled migrants, look at your employment agreements, look at the ANSCO definition for the group that you're going under, the ANSCO code, that 6-digit code and the 4-digit code, and look at, is this a substantial match? You don't need a perfect match. Don't have the exact same wording, of course, in both the ANSCO and your employment agreement. It looks dodgy. But definitely look through and go, okay, what does my job entitle? What do I have to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, a monthly basis? What do I regularly do? Look at the job description you've got and match it to ANSCO task list and go, okay, I hit that, I match that, that one there I match, but a little bit differently, and look through it and think to myself, is that substantial? Have I substantially matched that task list? That's immigration's job. That's what they'll be looking at. And that's where most immigration SMT applications fall over, is on that match to ANSCO. Especially for those of you who are working in large chains as retail managers or as restaurant managers for large chains. That's the ones that often have the biggest issues with proving some of those tasks.
All right. Next one, I think I'll take that one. So from Nitin, I think this video will be available after the recorded session is finished on the group. You will be able to watch those questions and answers from Arran after the session is finished. So that shouldn't be a problem. So we won't have to summarize that. There was quite a lot of questions and discussion happened. So we'll probably move to the next one.
So so yes, if you are 40 to 44 when you make the application, it's 20 points. If you're 45 to 49, then it's 10 points. If 50, it's 5 points. So there is points there. Definitely make use of those points, because those are points you can easily prove, and they're best bonus points.
This is not about residence, from LinkedIn.
So this is
just asking about how much to survive for a family of 4, which is probably not a residence question, but maybe a relation type question.
Yeah, because where do you live and what's your lifestyle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at minimum pay, then I think for a family of 4, you're looking at rental in around 700 to 800, or if you lucky to find something cheaper, 650 per week for the rental, and then you can think about utilities and the food. So definitely you can do your maths, and we'll probably post question on the group. There will be a lot of people who will be able to share some of their experiences in terms of what kind of lifestyle they live and what is the affordability and salary range you can afford to work in New Zealand. Okay, so that was the last of the cap.
I think one little thing to mention there in regards to Nitin's question is that out of Auckland is definitely cheaper. Maybe not Wellington, but most places out of Auckland are cheaper than living in Auckland. Also, you get bonus points for SMC if you're out of Auckland. So if you are looking at SMC, there's 30 bonus points there, which might get you up to 180 if you're missing out this draw. Could add on. So basically, if you have a job out of Auckland, there's 80 points just from that job. So 50 plus 30 bonus points. That's a lot of the 180 you require after the first draw. So yeah, out of Auckland could be a good option for many people who want to get across that boundary. If you're 150 points now and you're in Auckland, find a job outside of Auckland, there's 30 bonus points, there's 180 points. So that could be the difference, being out of the big city. Also wanted to mention, just for those of you who may be on a work visa that is coming to an end, say mid next year or some point next year, remember that the median salary is going to $29.66 in February next year. So that will be the minimum pay you required, unless you're part of one of the exceptions, for a 3-year work visa from February 20th next year. So if it is you're looking at a new work visa next year, maybe apply before February just to get in there if you haven't got $29.66 as an hourly rate.
Right. There was one question a couple of days ago asked on the group. The member was asking if they have ETA, or they're in the process of getting SMC and they change the job. So what's the process or expectation from the applicant?
So if you're going through an application for SMC, you've done the application, you've got the EOI, the ITA, you made the application for SMC, and your job changes or you get a new job, you can notify immigration and provide them with the new job offer. And immigration will basically reassess your application based on the new offer. They'll do this every time. It happens. People change jobs, employment goes. So yes, you won't lose the SMC application. You'll just update it with the new job, and they'll just start that job part again.
Right. Okay. We don't have any more question from any of the. If you are holding on to your question, just post them now because we are almost getting close to the end of our stream. And while we're waiting for your question, I would just probably put a disclaimer out here, and that is that I am not working with Arran, and I don't get anything out of the session. Neither Arran is going to get any benefit out of the session. So this is completely just to help our members and answer these questions in case. However, if you are looking for a lawyer, I'm sure Arran would be happy to help. You can definitely contact him. I will be able to drop his contact details at the end of the stream or in the comment section of the video after the session. Looks like Arran, we are running out of question, and I can probably throw more question if you have more energy to take more questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so for example, now this is getting a little bit beyond the subject we have around parent residence visa and the SMC category. So a lot of people use student visa as a pathway towards residence in New Zealand. So and now since everything has opened up again, a lot of people who are sort of in process of applying for the student visa, but some of them still get a job offer while they are still trying to join the institute. Now, if their student visas are already in process and they get a job offer, how do they deal with that situation?
Depends on, I suppose, what their current visa status is. If they're offshore, then withdraw the student visa and apply for the work visa. If they're onshore and they're on a visitor visa or another student visa, probably the same thing as long as they're still sort of lawful. The issue comes down if they're onshore on an interim visa, then you sort of have this juggling act as to how to withdraw one but then apply for another. And that's sort of, I think, when you go to immigration and say, hey, here's a situation, what do I do? We'll often, in that situation, we'd often go and talk to them and say to immigration, look, here's the situation, put a note in the file, this is taking place. And we might get them to say to us, look, just withdraw that and then do an F61 application, that sort of thing. So it's often, if it doesn't fit into the rules, immigration generally are quite helpful to sort of help with a plan forward, and they'll make a little note in the file. That's what was agreed to. But if you're offshore and you're doing the sort of change from student visa to work visa, just withdraw one and apply for the other. Yeah. Right. You shouldn't have two going at once. That confuses immigration.
Absolutely. And there was a recent example of one of my employees. He had a student visa with full working rights because of having a PhD student visa. And then he was, of course, working full time. When he applied for his visa at the end of the expiry of his student visa while working, he was given an interim visit visa. And then he couldn't work for a number of weeks. So does that apply to what you said earlier, that you need to talk to immigration in advance of those situations?
Yeah, even in that situation, they won't grant a right to work. So with an interim visa, if you're going from like to like, so open work visa of the same type for another one of the same type, then you can get the same rights. If you're changing visa type, so open work rights student visa to another visa type, then you're going to lose that right to work in between. It's just how the rules are. So definitely apply early as you can if that's your situation, to give yourself a chance to have that visa processed in time. Otherwise, you could be without a right to work for a period of time.
Right. No, thank you for that. Thanks for clarifying. So looks like that's probably the end of our questions. We'll probably wait for a couple of more minutes while we wait. You would like to probably add something as a final note for the audience before we end the stream?
Probably my own disclaimer. Of course, this is not legal advice. Legal advice, you have to come to us, be our client, and engage us to do that, because I need to see your file, your information to give you legal advice. We're generally just here to try to clarify how things work and how immigration is. One thing I want to mention is I know that a lot of you are suffering with these really long wait times at immigration right now to call them. Up until about a month ago, we never had that. We had sort of a 2 minutes max wait time. We get our calls answered. In the past month, it's gone crazy, and I'm up to an hour now. So not as bad as your 4 or 5 hours you've got, but I've got an hour sometimes I'm waiting on immigration right now. So things have gone crazy at immigration. I think the number of inquiries, the calls they're getting is pushing everybody back incredibly, or they're moving more staff to actually doing visas rather than calling, answering the phones. But you aren't alone in that, but it is still just sort of a crazy situation right now with those long delays.
There's one question.
Jasmine, can we apply if we have offer of employment at skill level 3 with 2776? Okay, now just a disclaimer, based on what you've said, possibly. We need to know more information about qualifications, points from that, English level skills, experience, where the job is, things like that. So far, nothing that you've said says that you can't apply, but there's more questions to be asked whether you can apply.
Okay, thank you. So that probably that's probably, I think, it. We can probably save 10 minutes for ourselves and have a nice dinner after that. Before we go, I would like to thank you, Arran, for your kind, acceptance of this invitation to attend and answer some of these questions. There were some really good questions, and I'm sure they'll continue to have. And if you have not been able to get your question answered, you can potentially post your question in the comment section of the stream, and Arran is part of the group. He may be able to see those questions later when he has time and may be able to get back to you. If not, you can definitely get in touch with him and you'll be able to find his contact details, as I said earlier. So thank you, everyone who have been part of this stream, and we'll hopefully organize a few more. Okay, Brenda Rose has come back before we just we're about to finish.
Okay, so if you submit an EOI and you haven't heard from immigration for a month or two, should you follow it up? I think you'll probably see some online posts about how things are going with the issuing of ITAs. They are pretty good historically with providing them once they get round to them. So I wouldn't panic. Like I said, there are going to be thousands of them in the pool. I think this first draw, it's been 32 months since the last draw, so it's been a long time waiting. So don't panic if you don't get anything back. If your EOI was valid 160 points and you submitted it, you should get something back when they get round to your application, to your EOI. It may take a couple of months, though, we think. We're sort of assuming about 2 months based on history, but yeah, it's hard to know right now. But yeah, give them time. They're very overworked.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Arran. With that, I think we'll end this stream, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time with another informative session on the group, and definitely provide your feedback on the stream. We can probably make this better next time. Thank you all, and thank you once again, Arran, for your time. And I hope you all have a really good evening.
Awesome. Cheers, folks. Kia kaha, and see you next time.
Kia kaha.
Bye-bye.